Ladies and gentlemen, you're here for episode 2 of CU Answers 2020 Leadership Conference. And here, your host, Randy Kahn.
Welcome to episode 2. All right. I titled this episode, Life is a TV Show, and as you can see from the last episode and this episode, we're kind of doing a TV show where everyone's in the audience. Now, I think that's an interesting concept from everyone's in the audience, and what it really means is everyone's remote. Interestingly enough, we were planning for that before all this got started, that we were going to Zoom and we were going to do things and we are going to FaceTime people and everything else. Everyone is behind the screen. Now, for strategy, that means a lot of different things. How are you going to work with people? What talents do you have to have? It is amazing. If you could see what's happening in this sound studio right now, there's people that are worried about 3 cameras shooting me at every angle. There are all kinds of sound people, light people, all those things. And what it makes me think about is how credit unions are going to up their game as to their remote production teams. How are you going to learn to speak to people that are far away? How are you going to act like you care the same as you did when you shook a warm hand? Or you could pass that empathy through physical closeness. Now that gets me thinking about a lot more things than just your lobby. I think you'll get over the lobby. I think consumers are going to come back into your lobby and they're going to be used to things and they're going to talk to you the same way and they're going to do those kind of things. But it'll be the people who don't come back to the lobby that you're going to have some new talents for, learn some new things, and get down the road. Now, basically, when we talk about my business plan here, and we talk with some business leaders here in a few minutes, we'll fall right back into a groove. You know, hey, we've been doing this for a couple years. We're talking about this. We all know this is coming. But what happened here with COVID? The future was here. See, if you went out into your lobby and you looked around your lobby and you said, well, this is only temporary. Pretty soon I'm going to open the door and the people are going to rush right back in and we're going to have the same business plan we had before. Then you're going to miss it. You're going to miss the opportunity. You have this glimpse of the future of your businesses now that you can change, that you can do in a different way. Now, whether that'll happen or not probably has a lot to do with your board of directors and the intensity you have in your strategy sessions. So you can't procrastinate. Going back doesn't mean you have another 5 years to change the way you do retail online. Your retail, how's that going to change? You don't have 5 years to change it anymore. You can't pretend that you can procrastinate on RDC when people need to make a deposit from their kitchen. You can't think that people don't want to sign a loan document online with a remote closing, all right? Because you now know they can't come to your lobby. Only difference in the future is they won't want to come to your lobby. So e-sign, are you signed up with e-sign? Are you doing all of those kind of things? And it's not about, I got a year, I got 2 years, okay? You have to reach out. People aren't going to reach out to you. If you look at when they come to your lobby, they're reaching out to you. Now they're behind the screen and I'm reaching out to them. So your strategy has to change and the energy has to be higher because there's no time, all right? It's not a crisis, but there's no time to get ahead if you're going to act like the future's not here, all right? As I looked at a meeting, I had a great meeting with Mid-USA's board the other day, remote, and I thought, boy, I've been working with their board for quite a while. They've been in board transition. You know, at one time, I think the average age of the board was 80 years old. Now, they were amazing 80-year-olds. I mean, focused, still involved, driving, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I was surprised when they all had laptops. They had been through some Zoom meetings, and they jumped right online, and everybody was talking, and it felt pretty good. But something was missing. Something was missing. The electricity of being in the same space. So we don't have any time, and maybe they all won't come back, but you don't have any time to work on production quality. I want you to think about a television show or something like that. You know, if it's a television show, what new talents do you need? Do you need a different kind of studio, production studio? How do you think? How are you going to prepare? Do you need people that understand sound? Do you need people that understand lighting? Do you need all of those things? Stop talking about your resistance to change and jump in as a board, jump in as a CEO and officer team, jump in as a staff. Look at it with a different eye. Look at it like you were in the audience hundreds of miles away. Because soon you're going to live in a day where everyone is in the audience and potentially 100 miles away. Let's get started with today's show. Welcome to you two. You guys are joining me. You're not unknown. You've been on the leadership stage a few times now, as a matter of fact. And then last November, we introduced a new concept for you. So, do you want to refresh our audience's mind? You are?
Ken Vaughn, Vice President of MTG Business Development and Product Design.
I am Christian Daniel, Vice President of MTG Sales and Service, doing some of the business development as well.
So in this segment, we're going to talk with a few business development leaders about getting back to business. So we had a whole business plan, and then all of a sudden and there was a lot in here. I mean, I'll pat myself on the back. I write brilliant business plans, and they're packed full of strategies and tactics. So you guys, you pick through and you do your own thing. But you have a special project going this year because you're co-business developers of this whole effort called MTG and Internet Retailing, right? So you're both a part of this whole experiment about teaming up tech leaders and support leaders and then asking them to build a business, okay? Ken, how long have you been at CU Answers?
Almost 8 years now.
Yeah, and just this year you've joined a business development effort.
Correct.
Okay. What's really different about being teamed up with Christian as a business development leader?
Before it was just very much technical and UI design and working with the details of each project. Now it's about the products, the service behind it, how we roll things out, creating things that can generate revenue for our team. So it's been
making money.
Making money.
Yeah, and making sure that we put the product out to the clients at the best possible price, right? Christian, what changed for you?
So previously, prior to MTG, I used to work in client services, and I just had a snapshot in client services. It's just items are being released, you train the clients, you support the clients, et cetera. Now with MTG, I kind of get that full picture of items. So from the beginning, I'm seeing how items are being developed, how they're being designed, et cetera, working all the way to deployment and as well as support, which is my side of the business as well.
Different meetings?
Oh, absolutely. A
Different
lot more
teammates,
meetings as well, too.
Right?
Yes.
And this whole idea that you're not just responsible for getting it done, now it has to run, and it has to happen, and it has to move those things. So it's, and why MTG? Why do you think we called it MTG? You were totally zoomed in on that Internet Retailing Support Center, okay? But when we put you together, we called it MTG, Mobile Technology Group. What do you think it signaled to our clients?
I think that we were taking mobile very seriously. It's this mobile-first approach that we're working on now. It's just reflective of what clients are wanting and what our members are wanting.
Yeah, in November we talked about we kind of passed a tipping point. People, we had online banking and we were rolling towards mobile phones, but we had probably, start out with most of our audiences digging online banking, whereas now most of the audience is digging the mobile side.
So I would guarantee maybe we have more mobile users than desktop users now as well.
Well, I know I changed. I know that I changed when I use online banking. I mean, when I use desktop banking, all right? And certainly even when I used a tablet, because now it seems like I want to use the mobile side of the tablet more than I want to use the desktop side of the tablet, all right? So this whole idea, you've been wanting, okay? So what do you think the features of a good company that specializes in mobile might be?
I think that user experience, user interface is a key component of mobile apps. You're challenged there. You have a much smaller canvas than you do on desktop banking. You have a more demanding kind of user base that expects these products to be, above and beyond. So I think that we're getting there. We're building the foundation to be able to build very robust apps that are comparable to even the big FIs, and I think it's a good opportunity for us to excel.
You think the mobile experience, now that it's really the member experience on a bigger point.
Yeah.
You think mobile, you guys in the mobile world think about customer experience more than guys in the old world?
I don't know. I think it translates well. I mean, just even this whole modules approach is showing that mobile first does translate well to desktop experience. So if that's where you want to do your banking, I think we can create a good user experience there as well.
Now, mobile first itself is more of an inside term that we're using to say we're focused more mobile first. It's just an easy thing to say, okay? But when you say mobile first, what does it mean to you?
Mobile first to me is very much from a user interface perspective. I think when right now we're trying to consolidate all these features to be used throughout our applications, and when you start with the smallest canvas, it's easy to take that view, that feature, and then deliver it on desktop without changing too much.
Kind of like this?
Correct.
All right. And you're saying starting down here gives us a different perspective and power as we move across?
Yeah. It forces you to put the most relevant information on the screen. You don't have all this space to put a lot of fluff. And so it makes you focus on what is most important for the user to see in doing this particular banking function. So in this case, it's a scheduling to transfer. And I think that discipline that forces you to take on, it just translates well to better user experiences.
So are you trying to tell me that what we use here is the same thing here and here?
Yes, and not just the design programmatically. Those are the same three features, all from one programmatic base.
So we're going to pull all that together, use it more often, have less investment with more consistency for training, rollout, all of those kind of things.
Correct.
Now, it's a little bit different for you, Christian, from the standpoint when we change software in CU base, it's just there. But you now have this new release schedule.
That is correct. Yep. For mobile app releases, we're on an annual release as of right now, where those app releases are going to be available between November and December of each calendar year. As of right now, we have Mobile 4.0, which is our first mobile annual release that we're having.
And when did that come out?
That came out in December 2nd, 2019.
Now, the old school, I'd go like this, and on December 2nd, everybody would have it. How many people have 4.0 right now in May?
As of this morning, we have 113 credit unions on mobile app 4.0 and more transitioning every day.
Well, how many are still to go?
As of right now, we have 120 that are still yet to go.
So the rollout's totally different.
That is correct. It's a one-by-one credit union rollout instead of everybody gets it at once type of scenario.
All right. Do you think it's going to pick up? Because it seems like the credit unions want it, but the process to actually make it happen is more in their camp.
Exactly, yes. And I do believe that'll pick up as more and more general marketing becomes available to these credit unions, so on. They'll take advantage of that and then continue to roll out the annual updates.
Their staff gets to try out the features. That's one of the biggest changes. Is they're not seeing it for the first time. I mean, they'll see documentation before release, but this allows them to test drive the software, use it within their staff before they release it to members.
Don't you think that leads to some procrastination?
It could.
Yeah, it definitely could, absolutely. But that's why we remind credit unions every single week that there's staff testing, and hey, if you do want to launch, we can definitely schedule that and get it launched within 3
So
or 4
when are
days.
we launching Mobile 5.0 then? When will 5.0 launch?
We're shooting for the fall, around November. There's a big effort going on right now to build
But
a
don't
foundation.
worry about missing the date. I want,
Okay.
But ideally, will everybody get over to 4.0 before 5.0 comes out?
That is the plan, yes.
We only want to support 2 versions at one time.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, isn't it? And we're going to need to see the speed pick up if we're going to pick up with all of our credit unions out there. And this was what I was talking about a little earlier when I was talking about this whole idea of procrastination at the credit union level, because it's change, it's different. It might even feel more comfortable, but it might take a lot longer to push into the future if production teams and credit unions don't speed up a little bit. Now let's talk about from the idea of how we generate this. Now, first you said modules, all right? We had been talking about API forever, okay? Now, did we abandon APIs?
No, not at all.
All right, so what's a module?
I think what came from that API effort is the idea of, do we really want to create 3 different versions of quick transfer or transfer? We had the ability to, but does that, that also creates a support issue. Documentation is increased, and the development is tripled there if you're trying to design for mobile, tablet, and desktop. Web modules was a way to consolidate a huge portion of that effort of most online banking functionality. And right now we're kind of at the point where we're really defining what we consider a web module, an online banking function, and master navigation, as we were talking about.
Well, stay there a second though, because a module then, in my mind now, you're saying basically a module is a feature to get something done for a member. Behind the scenes is an API or a socket or something. And I think that's what happened when we did APIs. We thought APIs were going to be simple in the minds of clients, but really to do one thing for a member might take 7 APIs.
Yes.
And so what people wanted to hear is that they wanted to buy from us, do this for a member. And the actual behind the scenes stuff, they're not as concerned about.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean someday they'll be able to mix and match modules for their own situation?
It's possible. I mean, we're going to be using them in 3 different applications. It's very much like an API. It's much more simplified than an API. We're not exposing the guts of the transactions that go back and forth. We're just exposing the feature itself.
And we can get there faster because the combination of sockets and API is based upon our drive and not the requirement of the customer.
Yeah, it's still online banking that will be creating these web modules, and they're the ones who either connect to that socket transaction or an API.
So, Christian, okay, all of this was kind of introduced with this whole idea that CU Publisher was a factory.
That is correct, yep.
All right, and you were the only guy working in the factory.
That is correct.
Ken was
Publishing
building the
apps.
factory, and his team was making the factory really slick. Like, you could think about a factory when you built cars and people were bolting on the parts. Well, now publishers like robots putting the parts together, and you're just kind of telling the robot what to do.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay.
I remember early on, Ken said, we're going to try to make this as easy as possible for you, as streamlined, easy, effective as possible.
So how long have you been working with Publisher before now?
It's been over 5 years now.
With Publisher?
Absolutely, yep.
Ken, this stuff takes forever. I know it feels like overnight, but I mean, come on, 5 years?
Well, I don't
Right?
think C Publisher will ever be finished. I mean, it's just a continuous thing.
We're going to build this
upgrading.
factory forever.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
But it's going to generate decades of new software applications, new things that can happen, et cetera, et cetera. All right. So everything that you were doing in Internet Retail Service Center was you were doing the work for CU Publisher.
That is correct. For clients, making updates to advertisements in their app, branch information, assist questions, mob sites, any changes to those, etc.
So to a certain degree, I know that Publisher really drives this real estate right here.
Yep.
How much is Publisher driving the online banking in at this time?
Configurations that are more cosmetic, you know, the front end. So the colors, the branding, the marketing, that's where CU Publisher can really be a powerful tool for those. You know, there's still CU-based configurations that are involved in building each of those interfaces, but the cosmetics around it are what CU Publisher drives.
Such as advertisements in Biz Mobile Web, we can list those within CU Publisher, and then they work in the mobile web solution.
And those are the things really that our credit union people want us to do, all right? And get those kind of things done. So from that end, you added Barb Cooper to your team.
That is correct.
What's
Yep.
Barb Cooper doing for you guys right now?
So as of right now, Barb is working on a lot of documentation, so documenting our process. So maybe next time we onboard an account executive, we know or they know how they can configure a launch point for a credit union, launch a mobile app for a credit union, those types of things. Barb is also focusing on the secure online form generator request center. She's taken that on full time, creating forms for credit unions, training credit unions on the request center, et cetera, all items with that product service.
She's our second user to CU Publisher. Christian was always, we always intend for CU Publisher to be self-service, but Christian was our first main user. Now we have Barb, and yeah, she's cranking away at form generator.
And she's going to make an army of users.
Absolutely.
Now, Forms is a kind of a special project for us because Forms is the foundation of basically non-member lending applications at the current time.
Yep.
All right, because you guys in the online banking team are about to launch a big project in 2021 for authenticated member LOS. So we're excited. How many Koreans are using Forms today?
107 credit unions use forms. We have over 500 custom forms created and over 400,000 submissions through those forms from members.
400,000 members have submitted some kind of application to credit
Some kind of
union.
request to the credit union, yep.
Now, if I wanted to see those 500 forms, can I kind of take a look at them? And
We do have a list that I have created from a document that's listed in the IRSC online store, and then we also have some examples, canned forms that credit unions can take advantage of from the IRSC online store as well.
So we've kind of combined IRSC and MTG.
That is correct, yep.
And a lot of times at CU Answers, our brands kind of meld and bend and all kinds of stuff. So you guys are both in the middle of really kind of trying to keep people up to speed during COVID on what MTG is.
Absolutely,
Tell
and new
me-
products that are available as well, yep.
Right. So have you had many client events?
Absolutely. So just prior to this COVID event, we did have an MTG advisory board event where we had credit unions come to CU Answers, and we kind of went through some new products and services, Mobile 5.0, discussed modules, et cetera. I also do hold webinars. I have quite a few webinars on a weekly, monthly basis, et cetera, covering mobile app launches. We have a new one for new member verification with MOP. I'm doing that with Jim Vilker, where we're discussing the front end of MOP verification, maybe changing configurations, et cetera. And I also have weekly, daily meetings with credit unions as well that are launching, reminders that we send out via client news, et cetera.
So MOP's more of an online banking kind of tablet thing, right? So, I mean, the biggest thing here is I guess, in my mind, now we're starting to think tablet, if it can be on a tablet, it can either be mobile or online banking. But after 5.0, it'll all be the same. So are we heading towards a new online banking in 2021?
Yes.
Okay. And now online banking is kind of funny. It has the features, but almost navigation, and if we think online banking, you started with navigation, then you went places and you did something.
Yeah.
All right. Now, from this, you're kind of saying the blue areas are navigation and the center is the feature.
Yeah, we're actually defining the navigation as master navigation. And the reason why we want to call it something different, because people typically think navigation is menus, hamburger menus, drop downs. But we do a lot of contextual navigation in online banking. So the account summary page, in context to a loan, you have, change your nickname, account details, skip a pay, make a payment. There's all these things that come from being in context to that actual.
So instead of just having a menu, we also put a button in there that they can do something different, and it pops up where it's supposed to pop up.
Yeah.
The menu, the navigation is kind of static to a certain degree, but inside a feature, you might add a navigation.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the main concept of the whole web modules, is defining what is master navigation and what is an online banking feature. So if you think this feature might be triggered from multiple places, then it's then it needs that the context needs to be in the master navigation.
So for a product like It's My Biz, okay, or BizLink,
Yep.
that's really the master navigation theme.
Yeah, that's where people want to see things be unique. A mobile navigation needs to be different than a desktop navigation, but the actual feature itself does not have to be unique.
So in the end, when I say brand, it probably has a specialized navigation approach, okay? And then when I say device, it has both navigation and features, and we get this focus. Okay, so modules are coming out, new master navigation, new online banking for 2021, all based on Mobile 5.0, all based on mobile first thinking. We changed your role in the programming team, didn't we?
Yes.
And your favorite 2 words in the line are front-end
Front-end
programming. Yeah, you finally got your way on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it...
It's okay.
Yeah.
Stick out the chest, you won. That's going to change CU Answers for a few years here, this whole thing. Okay? So you're not just working with MTG, you're front-end programming for online banking, and eventually even products like CU Base.
It could be.
The way we think, I'm saying, right?
Yeah, the model we're building from this is, I think, the most exciting thing about it. You know, we're doing full prototyping now, which is something that we've done prototyping for a while, but this starting out with a prototype and then meeting with QC and the development teams, making sure that it's all within spec, and then execution. It's just a different model. It's it's pretty exciting.
You get pretty nervous when I ask about dates, though, because people are waiting.
Yeah. I mean, there's some significant milestones that we've met. Our first one, this first deployment of the first release candidate that online banking deployed.
Yeah, that's a new phrase. RC, release candidate. What is that?
Well, that's their term. It's just the idea of modules is that we don't have to deploy an entire web application for one feature. We don't have to regression test an entire application for a feature. Modules can be deployed individually. So if you have a new feature, a new function, you can just roll that out, and that's all that needs to be tested, and that's all that needs to be deployed. So the first step past the design and development was to release some of these modules so we can start testing them in production, not with members, but just us internally.
So
one of them
MTG,
is a load rate board coming up too as well, correct?
Which we've thought about implementing in 4.0.
Yep.
So MTG is telling me you're redesigning an SDLC for this kind of approach. Do you have a different QC department?
No, we're definitely working with QC. They have a slightly different role. They're part of the sort of the design phase.
But you have a special QC person.
We do have a special QC person, yep.
So when I think about this, 15 minutes after 5.0 comes out, then I'm going to get my new online banking 15 minutes later.
It will follow you.
I thought they were just going to laugh there for a second, all right? But I mean, that's some big things are happening.
Yeah, while the remainder of the web modules are being developed, and while we build Mobile 5.0, we'll be designing the next version of online banking. And it's not going to be a huge year-long effort because we'll have all these modules, which is probably 80% of what that project requires. So it's more just building the master navigation around those modules, which will be the next version of online banking.
All right, so before we wrap this up, let's just talk about MOP for a second. We're going to talk about MOP in another section with you, okay? What can publisher do with MOP?
Well, MOP is highly configurable. It is insanely configurable. So
almost more than a mobile app?
I would say so, yes, because you have the ability to create more than one site. You can customize each of those sites based on a seg group, geographic location, business, school, etc. You can change what those sites do. Maybe you just have no funding on one site, funding on a site. Maybe you just want a map site, a MOP site. So definitely you can customize it, I believe, a lot more in mobile apps.
Yeah, MOP is, the CU publisher there is almost building a branch.
Exactly, yep. And we do have a credit union that does have 10 to 12 MOP sites that they rotate around and keeping those active throughout the year.
So later when we talk about MOP, I just wanted to say to the crowd right now, publisher, you could consider a virtual branch factory. Absolutely. And especially if we continue on, all right? Well, you and I have been down the road, all right? We've been down the road, we fought to get to this point. Literally not fought together, sometimes fought in opposition to get to this point. I want to congratulate you I want to congratulate you both. I think the experiment you're putting together here as business developers is going to carry us a long way. You know my respect for Jody as a technical player who became one heck of a business developer, all right? And my respect for people who understand how the credit union service module has to work to build our business. That makes both of you, young guys on the way up. I look forward to things you're going to do in the next couple of years. All right?
I'm excited for the future.
All right. Thank you both for coming today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Now on to a sponsor.
Babies born 40 years ago were planning to use your branches just like their mommies and daddies did. Babies born in the last decade and for the next 30 years are more likely planning to use their phone and everything else that can or will be able to hook up with the net. If your plans only cover how to do business with a disappearing generation, you just might disappear yourself. When the fog from COVID-19 clears, we hope you will be committed to internet retailing for the next 50 years. This message brought to you by a 60-year-old guy who loves learning new tricks.
Well, welcome back. And as you can notice, we have a new guest. Christian's kind of moved over here so I can reach him easier. And Pete, what are you up to?
Here to talk about some changes we have coming in a few months.
Yeah. Pete, how long you worked with CU Answers?
7 years now.
Yeah. And you're kind of a credit union icon, that Winiger last name. Go with it. It's a good thing.
It runs in the family.
Yeah.
Family business. Yes,
Right.
sir.
And what do you do here?
Vice President of Professional Services is my title. I run our Lender VP team.
Oh, there's a lot of good things in Lender VP to talk about.
We have a lot of stuff going.
Right? Yeah, you sure do. Well, before we get started, I'm going to set the stage here a little bit differently than I did in the last segment. All right? So I started thinking about what we were going to talk about with everybody in internet retailing. One of the reasons before MTG and all the things that we're doing, but internet retailing is still a big initiative for credit unions, and it's much more a state of mind, I'd say, right? How are you changing your retailing in relationship to the internet marketplace? Now, April was an interesting month, right? All of a sudden, with the stay-home orders and all of that, and restaurants went to carry out, credit unions actually went to internet retailing without even thinking about it, right? People picked up their mobile phone. It wasn't like the credit union told them to tell them to pick up their mobile phone. They just picked up the mobile phone. And so everyone was ready to get started. Then government started giving away money, all right? And it was really interesting, though. It wasn't like you couldn't go to your credit union and they hand them a check. They had to, if you got a check, you needed RDC, right? And then, they needed financial institutions to do the loans so that small businesses could maintain their staff. And so with a lot of extra money, we started tracking a lot of different stats. But all of it was coming through that internet channel, all right? Now, I'm not saying that people didn't use drive-ups, because I've seen drive-up lines. You guys seen any credit union drive-up lines lately?
I've sat in them before, yeah.
What were you sitting in a drive-up line for?
I had to make a deposit, and I was just
You
waiting.
had to make a deposit?
I did.
Have you heard of RDC?
I have. It was cash, though. I couldn't RDC cash over.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. How long was the line?
It was about 5 cars in front of me, not too bad.
Oh, not too bad. Because I've seen them where they were down around the corner.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I don't know if the longest line that I've seen in this month was either at my credit union drive-up or at Coney Island selling food at 5:30 at night. I don't know which was longer, the drive-up. We have this amazing Coney Island in Muskegon that the lines are forever. All right. Well, I'm off track here, but that's okay. All right. So pay everyone in America and do it now. I thought that was weird. The government's actually trying to pay everyone in America, but if you hadn't filed your taxes, how do you get a check? If you don't have a financial institution, how did you get your check? All of those things. And we saw all of that in April when the ACH system brought online banking to a grind there for a day or two. Electronic payments and documented channels and all of those kind of things. I was talking the other day with someone, and pretty soon the government's I personally need my own URL for Randy Carnes. Send money to Randy at ... I'm going to be an IP address. Can you imagine that if we have to get everybody hooked up? As connected as we thought we were, COVID has shown that we can't always find people, that we, what's going on, et cetera, et cetera. I noticed just the other day, we're going to talk about Asterisk Intelligence, they're able to identify who's unemployed through our data. So what are people saying to those? So this internet retailing has a lot to do with what, when we think about what we have to change for the future. So you guys log in any things that you think might be some good products in the future?
Absolutely. One of the first ones is secure online form generator that during this pandemic, credit unions have taken advantage of, definitely, for sure. Creating, like you said, the government offering loans. So credit unions are creating online forms for members to submit for those loans. Now, some credit unions are opening up lobbies. They're now creating schedule an appointment forms for members to go online, schedule an appointment. They can come into the branch, et cetera.
It's not really a form, is it? I mean, it's
more of a
you say form, I think of they go online, print it out, take this form, isn't it? I hope it's not just a form.
So these are just requests that members are getting.
Yeah, so they're online requests.
Exactly,
yeah, it's more in the flow of things. I don't really want to print a form and fill it out with a pen.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
But it seems like sheer luck, all that stuff's in style now. All right? Did you get a lot of calls, Pete, in the first few days of this?
Absolutely. Inundated with calls.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting how people study April and think about the rest of their business years, okay? Now, you've been working on a lot of products at Lender VP. A lot of things where, loan applications have always been kind of a employee of the credit union assisted thing, okay? So we are getting our brain wrapped around computer-assisted transactions where we didn't do that in the past. Okay, so what was probably one of your favorite products that just leaped forward in April?
Skip-a-Pay is absolutely number one. Immensely popular, something that had been an existing product. It's free for our clients to use. We typically see 2,000 to 3,000 skips network-wide a month. Since the stay-at-home orders were put in place, we've helped process over 100,000 and continuing to climb every day.
That's scary. It's really good. I mean, we got 100,000 skip-a-pays we processed and we did all that stuff. That's 100,000 loan payments that didn't made.
That got postponed.
Yeah, postponed. Oh, it's interesting. Now, what's changing? Are people, you back in the day, you had a skip-a-pay summer thing and a skip-a-pay vacation thing, but you're talking about skip-a-pay as a constant for every loan product?
If that's the way the credit unions would like to set it up.
Well, what are you seeing? Are more people are adding more products for skip-a-pay, or?
I'm not seeing more products being added, but the biggest change that I saw is that people were wanting consecutive skip-a-pays. In the past, negative amortization was always the big fear. Nobody ever wanted to skip 2 payments in a row. But now people, if you don't have a job, you're not getting a paycheck for weeks or months on end, people are wanting members to skip 2 and 3 payments at a time, which was never the case.
They're going to have a lot of maintenance in the end, though, to get that thing back on track.
The loan will carry on longer than planned.
So you have some other products coming, like rate modifications, and give me some products that are kind of in this whole idea that you could do these kind of loan maintenances on screen? Or
Sure. So some of the self-directed, member-initiated tools we have coming in 2021 would be what I'm calling flex loans, which gives members the opportunity to make changes on their loan in an online fashion with no input necessary by the credit union. We have instant loans coming.
Whoa. What could I change?
Your payment amount, for example. So if you wanted to lower your payment based on the configurations that the credit union sets up, if your request falls within certain parameters, you can change your payment on your own.
So I could dial my payment down for $100. What might it change, though? I mean, how do they, so I take my payment down. Does it change the term or the rate, or what does it change?
It could change the term, and that's based on the configurations that the credit union sets up at the product level.
Is that live today?
That is not live today.
When are we anticipating that?
In the next release.
The next release, and the next release is what?
2007, so July.
Got to remember, they're in the audience. You got to kind of. So July. Okay. Now that was scheduled though for May earlier.
Correct.
So now all that we're really worried about is whether or not people are going to be engaged, pick it up, and get going.
Well, that's my job.
Right. And so from the standpoint of lowering payments, that sounds like some relief people need.
something that's very popular right now.
Okay, so do you have a lot of people talking about it? Are they ready to jump on it right out of the gate?
We've been talking about it with people for years. There are people that are chomping at the bit for it.
Do you think that's an endorsement of our speed to get to market?
I'm just talking about.
No, Pete. I'm just saying we've been talking about it for years. I'm really excited. People are ready to jump on it. They might say that they wish they would have had that before COVID.
Agreed.
So we can't procrastinate now because people are going to need this next year, maybe even bigger.
It's full steam ahead.
All right. You got some now. What did you mean by so flex loan? That's what you're talking about there.
Correct.
All right. But then you got some other things coming out like offers. What's an offer? And what's the difference between an offer and an application?
So an application is a member requesting a loan. An offer is the credit union going through a set of criteria to determine what members are eligible for a loan and presenting an offer to the member. So no application, they can just accept a loan. So one-click credit cards, for example, the credit union chooses a set of members to make a pre-approved credect card offer to.
The credit union's got to have a little bit more data talent there, though, to actually understand out of 40,000 people, how do you pick out 2,000 people that would be ideal for a credit card?
Correct. And the tool set will help walk them through a choice that will allow them to select that subset of members.
When is that going to be live?
That is coming in our July release.
Ooh. So Flex and that in the July release.
Correct.
All right. Okay. Now CD Secure is a little bit different. Everybody knows what a CD Secure loan is, but is that very close?
Absolutely. That's going to be on our fall release. So CD secured and share secured instant loans. And so again, based on configuration parameters, if the member has funds on deposit, they can secure their own loan, sign documentation, and have those funds deposited into the account of their choice, all without any intervention necessary by the credit union.
Now, this is a big time. During a pandemic or during any kind of business interruption and anything that's out of the normal, it's important for credit unions to know their member.
Agreed.
Okay? So you got this ClearPath product coming out, and it's a powerful tool for, like I say, I know Pete, okay? But in a personal situation, I know Pete. I know who he is, I recognize him, I see him, I know a little bit about his family, his reputation, all of those kind of things. But knowing a credit union member is a little bit deeper than just saying, I hang out with Pete once in a while.
Sure.
So what is ClearPath trying to do?
So ClearPath stands for Consumer Lending Based on Reputation. And what it's really doing is measuring and quantifying the relationship the member has with the credit union. And so what it's trying to do is look at the relationship the member has with the credit union to try to put the finger on the scale to tip a yes for a loan application in the direction of the member. So we're measuring over 20 pieces of criteria that the credit union can quantify. Things like, how long have you been a member? Do you have direct deposit? Have you had loans with me in the past? How did you perform on those loans? The list goes
Average
on.
balance.
Correct.
So from this standpoint, know the member by knowing the data.
Exactly.
Okay. Now that really could help you because I know Pete, but a lot of times when I know Pete, I'm not. Hey Pete, what's been your average balance for the last 6 months? Right. Okay. So this is it does tip the scale because as soon as I hit the button, it says this is what we know about Pete plus what you know about Pete means we know the member.
Agreed.
Okay. Do we have things in there that the credit bureaus don't have?
We have a tremendous amount of data that credit bureaus don't have.
And when you push this button, does it take 5 minutes?
Seconds.
Seconds.
It's done.
Now we're starting out using it in the lending environment, which makes me a little nervous because you guys, you're a little bit more about underwriting the product than I am. I think about, I know Pete. I'm old school, so I think about character. So I know Pete's character, and I do character lending more than anything else. But, lenders today, they're more into the deal, So you're hooking up ClearPath, though, and you're making it so you can have different ClearPaths for different products.
You could have as many templates as you'd like and associate the template with the product.
So
Correct.
It's a quasi-automated underwriting tool, decision tool.
Yes.
Okay. How do you see us using it at the teller line?
So we could move forward after our first cut, and you could say things like, if the ClearPath score is X, approve Randy for a checking account.
Or just know Randy's a good deal.
Sure.
Good guy.
Talk about check holds, for example.
Yeah.
Another opportunity to come up. So hold your check or don't hold your check based on your ClearPath score.
Right. Or Randy comes in, you've seen him a few times, he's never caused a scene, but all of a sudden you're wondering if this scene is worth the relationship.
Agreed.
Right? So I think ClearPath is an interesting tool. Now, I know a lot of that data that's going to be in ClearPath, credit bureaus are starting to ask people to download that data to the credit bureaus.
Sure.
Would you?
No.
Yeah. Because if you give it to the credit bureau, you give it to your competition.
Sure.
Right? I think that's going to be an exciting product.
I'm very excited about it.
Anything else you're thinking about for 21?
Those are the number one products.
Yeah. You and Charlie are working on some third-party LOS.
Yep.
How are we doing there?
Making tremendous progress. So using a white label custom decision model, we'll be rolling that out in an alpha environment to our first credit union next month, actually.
That was pretty code. Did you mean that we're actually going to use Sync 1's decision model with CU-based LOS?
That is exactly what I mean, yes.
Yeah. Okay. So we're going to add another ClearPath as a kind of decision model. Then we're going to partner with a third party and bring a decision model into our tool.
Correct.
As well as we're really starting to make some real inroads into third-party LOS.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a person dedicated to nothing but integrating those third-party relationships. So we're not interested in standing in the way. If that's what somebody wants to do, we'll help facilitate that relationship.
Cool. Well, I think we've covered all the lender VP questions.
I appreciate the time today.
All right. Well, you can hang around while I drill Christian.
That'll be fun.
All right.
It always is.
So now you know what I'm going to ask. So what was probably, in April when this all hit, in May, people are getting used to this. Oh, I need this, I need this, I need this. What was one of your biggest, I need this?
So as we said, secure online forms was a big one for members
Tell
requesting
me why
items via
that's
the
secure.
internet.
Tell me why it's secure.
So it's secure first off because we are sending the information secure via the internet using secure websites, et cetera. And then also credit unions have a login to access this data. We're not sending the data via email where people can just see social security numbers, et cetera. It's all within a request center that users need to log into to
What
access the
percentage of
data.
forms that are generated are secure?
All of them, 100%.
Oh, okay. All right. I thought I missed something. We had some new big thing that I forgot about.
Nope, that's
All
all
right.
the secure online forms.
So what, besides secure forms?
RDC was another big one for credit unions getting started. We're also offering a promotion right now for credit unions that have the CU Answers mobile app. It's we're waiving that RDC setup fee for those credit unions. And as of right now, that promotion has been going on for roughly 3 weeks now, and we've had 7 credit unions that have made the transition.
What percentage of our credit unions have RDC by now?
92% of credit unions.
I never thought we'd get there. Did you think?
It
was a slow build.
It was in the beginning, yes, but eventually we got there. And with the
92.
help of the item processing team and MTG, we definitely got there.
So IQ, kind of push that over the top. What does IQ stand for?
Absolutely. So that's RDC IQ, and that's near real-time posting of RDC checks. So as soon as a member makes a deposit, pending it meets all of the business rules, it's going to post within seconds.
That's a weird acronym. Near real time, and the acronym's IQ.
Yeah, that was, I believe, done by our marketing teams that named the RDC IQ.
Well, I think IQ stands for it's quick.
Oh, absolutely. It's quick. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, I don't know. We make up acronyms. I mean, this whole thing's an acronym show. So I always think RDC is quick, meaning that the check you post, it hits your account.
Exactly. Yep.
At
With
almost
that
no
RDC
money.
IQ.
Yeah.
That is correct. And actually, with the RDC IQ, kind of a story here. I had a credit union that was looking to get started this morning, and they're on batch posting currently, and it's a savings of over $400 a month to that credit union to transition over to the
Post
RDC
faster,
IQ.
price goes down.
Exactly. Yep.
That's the opposite of normal.
I would agree with
All
that.
right.
But,
So the 2% that aren't with us, are we still working?
absolutely. I am working with those credit unions, pushing those that currently have our mobile app over to RDC. As we said, we're offering that special. And then also credit unions that don't have the CU Answers mobile app, I also have had them reach out regarding getting set up on RDC, a brand new mobile app, et cetera.
So we're going to have a micro app which is a single-purpose app just for RDC.
That is correct. In the future, that is the plan.
So if a person can't go into the mobile app and navigate to RDC, they could just have a single button right on their phone, have a phone tile that just says RDC.
Straight to that icon, straight to the RDC
And then it specializes
process.
in RDC.
That is correct, yep.
Yeah. You think they can change that? My wife's always trying to do an RDC check on our mobile, kind of a marble-looking thing, and the camera can't ever find the check.
Yep, so you do need to have darker colored backgrounds.
I know, I wish that the app said, move your check to a solid background.
Credit unions do have the ability to customize tips within there, and then as you said, within the micro app, we can kind of do more of those things within there. Educate the member on different colored backgrounds they need with it, different tips that they would have throughout the process.
So what's the next thing in RDC?
RDC, we do have part of our mid-year rollout that we're planning for Mobile 4.0. First is going to be loan payments through RDC, so that's taking a check and depositing it directly as a payment to a loan. And then also auto enrollment for RDC as well, qualifying members ahead of time so they don't have to go through that approval process, where if they are approved, they're automatically approved for RDC and can...
Almost instantly, no
Exactly.
overnight wait. But let's go back. I mean, you're saying that in the future, then if they just need to make a loan payment, send in a check.
Exactly, yep, so they can
Open
be
a CD, send in a check.
automatically qualified for RDC right there, and then that could post right away with the near real-time posting, RDC IQ.
RDC doesn't work with MOP yet.
It does not work with MOP as of yet, but that is planned for the future, absolutely, as a funding option for a member.
Yeah. I'm sure the audience is picking up the future is our buzzword. Is it a near future?
Yeah, I would say that is a near future option. We have MOP 2.0 coming out soon, and then I'd say that would be shortly thereafter.
MOP. So if I look at MOP, credit unions, some of the credit union sites for MOP have kind of been found by some not so nice people.
That is correct. We did have in February some bad actors that were targeting credit union MOP sites and opening up memberships, fraudulent memberships with stolen data or a stolen database, something that they had to utilize all of the information from that user past the verification step and then open memberships at those credit unions.
On one hand, it was cool. We made it. They found us. Yeah, it's like kind of not a good thing to happen, but at least, wow, MOP has been found, okay? Now, I think the credit unions were found. I'm not sure MOP was found, but we actually had a lot of things. So that got us thinking about what we're going to do with MOP. We're, as CU Publishers involved in that, we're going to start, we're going to add new filters, kind of like
reasonability test.
Reasonability, that's, so in a reasonability test, we're not just saying, is it a real person? We're saying, is it a real person you want?
Exactly. So maybe just someone in Minnesota, say the credit union is in Minnesota. I just want applications from Minnesota. Or maybe it's a credit union in Lower Michigan and they want to go Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Wisconsin. They can all link those into one and say, yes, I do want to allow memberships from those states.
And then if they're getting hit really hard, like 2,000 apps in 10 minutes, that's not reasonable.
And then they could deactivate the site at that
And the
point.
site would deactivate, tell the bad guys to move on. And there's a lot of people in this focus group planning on this MAP thing.
Absolutely. I do have a lot of credit unions that are really wanting that reasonability test, 100%.
All right. And that's going to be a priority in the second half of this business year. I know that we're pushing the teams hard after this when we all get back to
Exactly. I do believe that is the design and development team's next project for MOP.
Oh, that's interesting. Now, this idea we mentioned CU Publisher going self-service, okay?
Yep.
And the credit unions actually are going to be able to buy access to CU Publisher.
That is correct. For a monthly subscription, credit unions' first portion of CU Publisher that we released was Request Center. The next portion we're transitioning to is Mobile Manager. So that's managing all of your mobile app marketing, messaging, content, viewing any analytics, etc. And we do have 2 credit unions that are currently beta on that. We have Element as well as Cincinnati, Ohio Police Federal Credit Union. We did a training with them to cover the product, and now we're just kind of letting them play around, see any questions they have, what they think of the product, so on.
So they'll be able to buy the right to do what you used to do for them.
That is correct, for a monthly subscription cost, or if they don't want to go with that monthly subscription cost, they could have a per update, per item fee that's done as a professional service fee through IRSC MTG.
Oh, you won't be free anymore.
That is correct.
Well,
It will
Barb
not
won't be free, or whoever's wanting, because I think you're
yeah.
probably gonna have a few account executives to do this.
I would think so, yes, sir.
All right. That's part of being a business developer.
Absolutely.
Little bad news there, I'm not free anymore,
100%.
but they don't have to wait on you anymore.
That is correct as well. They could either do the monthly subscription, or they could wait for an account executive to make the update.
That'll be exciting. All right, I look forward to that. What do you think is going to be the most exciting thing to come out of CU Publisher next year that Crayons can do themselves?
The most exciting, I think Mobile Manager first is the most exciting thing, and then also micro apps, kind of as you touched on previously, the ability to manage and configure their micro apps.
Can they make their own forms right now?
They cannot make their own forms.
Oh, wouldn't that be more
my
exciting?
Next one
Oh,
as well,
okay.
the form generator, which, as we said previously, Barb is primarily working that service, and eventually we do see that as a credit union self-service product for them to create their own forms, adding them to their website, online banking.
You're becoming a
mobile
very good business developer. When I ask for most, you have 4 mosts.
Exactly, yes.
You looking forward to big things in 21?
Absolutely. I'm so excited for the future.
Well, then I think that if we look at this whole internet retailing process that we got going on, stores and all those things that are really making it happen, you think people will be hungrier after the COVID?
I do believe so, and I think, as you said, the stores are a great place for them to start. Go ahead and shop, explore, view different products and services, maybe even see more credit union examples from out there in the store and what they did during these pandemic times, et cetera.
I'm still a little disappointed at the rate Crayons have they're adopting their own stores.
I would agree with that as well, yes.
Yeah, think that's going to break out?
I do think so, and I am starting to work with some
Does it
credit
scare them
unions.
when you tell them I'm disappointed?
Not really, no, but I do transition over to the custom online form service as well, where they can use that to then create their own online store with requests.
That joke went.
Yeah.
All right.
Could be
Now-
my long hair from the pandemic.
I think Pete, I think he's kind of saying something about our hair.
I like it. It's the no hassle look. It's good.
That is true.
I really appreciated the two of you drop by. All right.
Thanks for time.
And keep pushing and stay excited. There's a lot of things, all right?
Absolutely.
You looking forward to some of your teammates coming back to the office?
Yes. Everybody wants to come back.
Wow, that's good to hear. Thank you both.
Thanks for your time.
Now a word from our sponsors.
In the space of less than a week, most, if not all, of the restaurants in America found themselves out of sync with their best paying customers, their most active customers, their most loyal customers. That meant innovation was their only hope for survival. Innovation was a necessity. And with no time to waste, innovation had to happen quickly. Menus went online and digital. Ordering food was now negotiated over the phone or through a website. Paying the bill was now more about avoiding the transfer of germs than a passion for convenience. Before COVID-19, Amazon was the model for internet stores. After COVID-19, every business will have their own form of meeting their customers in a new way. Join CU Answers in defining your internet revolution for the future.
Welcome back. And while you were gone, 2 new guests, Keegan and Josh. You guys are pretty well known. Maybe you're not as out front as you usually are this time of year. So how long have you been here, Josh?
I've been with CU Answers just over 20 years, Randy.
Wow, no.
It kind of shows, doesn't it?
Yeah. What's going on this year?
This year we've got some new initiatives with our analytics booth platform. We have 3 releases scheduled. Very excited about that. Got one coming up at the end of June, actually.
But I mean your roles. Did your role change any?
Absolutely. So primarily I was back office with a technical background, working with a computer. That was my interaction point. Then I had a team of developers and I started working with them, but still pretty much contained within CU Answers. Now with the analytics booth platform that we have, we're moving more into a business development role, which is very exciting. Getting the opportunity to co-business development with Keegan. He's more of a front-end guy. He's very strong presence in the credit union community. So he's on that side of the fence. I'm on the technical side, and I think he's becoming a little more technical. I'm becoming a little more salesy. So it's going to be a nice combination, I think, when it's all said and done.
Ah, good. Both on the top of the fence. How are you, Keegan?
Good. Yourself?
I'm good. And how long have you been with you guys?
13 and a half years, so I'm working on the hair thing too. But I'll see if
got
I
a ways
can.
to go.
I'll see if I can get
would
there.
take that back in a minute. All right. So, I mean, effectively, the three of us have been working on data for a good, 10 years.
At least.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about all the data work that we did in CU Base, and we now well over 100 dashboards, and one day you look back and you think this is just getting started, and then boom, we got 100 dashboards. So I do want to talk a little bit about data and get some things down. And so when this whole thing started, I think the data team was like one of the most valuable teams. I mean, from the standpoint of the customers, the people were out of the lobby. There were a lot of managers with time on their hands, okay? And they wanted to know data. And you guys are always so great. I mean, like I can get these, props from you that have these great graphs and interesting curves and all this stuff. So people wanted to know right away, like what's happening to my EFT transaction data. This was really interesting because what happened to credit unions, you think about one credit union at a time, almost instantly EFT revenue at CU Answers, we were like $65,000 below budget last month, and we're well over $135,000 below budget in May. So everybody turns to a data guy when times are bad. They want to know a lot of stuff. Now, I got more graphs, and we'll show those in a little bit. But the big thing for you guys, you were in the right place at the right time. This Prove It thing. Explain this Prove It program and why it fits so well with what's going on right now.
So it's very interesting. The Prove It program was really designed to provide credit unions with the insight that data was easy to get. We wanted to prove to the community of credit unions that they had the ability to gather data, review data, analyze data, and then gather the insight from it. So the Prove It program takes all of those concepts, bundles it up in a package, and says, it's right here in front of you.
But there was aggressive goals. I mean, this was supposed to be like, how many emails are we trying to send?
So we're trying to send roughly 25 emails a week.
Okay.
So if we look at 25 emails a week times however many weeks in a year there is, that's a lot of emails.
Mm-hmm.
These emails are directed to credit union executives so that they have the ability to say, holy cow, I might want to do something like that, or I might want to arm my team with this information so that they can do it as well.
And so some of the emails in this book, like 180-day portfolio momentum. I mean, you look at the charts and the tables and all those things. How long did you give team members to actually create that email?
So the emails, less than 10 minutes. We want to keep it very short.
So in 10 minutes, look for insight that you might not even know you have.
Correct.
10 minutes. That's pretty quick. Is there anything in the email that actually they have to buy a third-party tool for or anything like that?
Nope.
Wow. All right. Now, what are you learning about your team?
So what I'm learning about the team is that when we first started the Prove It program, I'm going to have to spend half a day to collect this data. And we had to say no. We had to say, how do you take that information, package it, move quicker, move faster, and get it done in 10 minutes or less?
Yeah, and now, to me, the Prove It thing is prove analysis works, okay? Are you guys learning that? I mean, your team members, because they look more confident about stuff now when I ask them about what do you know about this? Mm-hmm. They're a different team.
So what I found, at least as we started this Prove It program, is that they're starting to remember those numbers. We talk a lot about having grasp of what those numbers are, and now all of a sudden when you talk with the team, they might say, well, we had $180,000 in RDC deposits last week, and the numbers just rattle off right on top of right out of their mouth. So it's fun to see, and I agree with you, their confidence is increasing as well because they have the grasp of those numbers.
Well, it was kind of just 2 days ago. Chip Filson asked me how many people were unemployed out of 2 million people we serve every day. And we just posed that question, and your team within a couple minutes gave me 3 ways. Yep. 3 different ways to say, we know these people right here are unemployed. One was easy. They just pulled up who was getting unemployment checks. And we would have never thought about that 10 years ago. We wouldn't, unemployment checks were unemployment checks, but now all of these things are coming through. Now the interesting thing, of course, then, if you know who's getting an unemployment check, what do you do about it? What services are you selling them? How are you talking to them? What are you anticipating down the road? Okay? It's not snooping. It's saying, oh, there might be products they need. There might be some concerns we have. And not in a negative way, they want to help.
Might defer scheduled payment, for
Yeah.
example.
And it really boils down to having that data to respond to your community. How can I, as a credit union, respond to my community of members in the most intelligent way possible? The data is going to help you get there.
So what's next for the Prove It book?
Well, first of all, we're going to be creating another Prove It book, and it's going to be an annual publication. I foresee this to be an annual publication for a number of years, where we can continue to coach credit unions on what that looks like. Beyond that, we're going to start working with Josh a little bit on automation. So how can we take the Prove It program and have the computer spit out the results at an automated frequency?
So these emails delivered from the computer to the user, okay, so that we can continue to work on authoring new emails and new things like that. I'm looking forward to that, okay? Now, before we move on, I got a couple more things, but one of the things to talk about right now, Christian and Ken were here, right? And Christian's your brother, and both of you are in this business development program together, teamed with a techie leader, right? So how do you see that program going with the two of you as partners? All right. One, as I even had trouble getting you to show up to business meetings.
No, that's a fair statement, but sometimes I'll take the position that I'm not always invited to those meetings, but I don't intentionally, certainly not show up to those.
Well, do you
but
think...
we are working closer. As a matter of fact, we're meeting every Wednesday now. We have set meetings to make sure that we're touching base, so I know what he's doing and he knows what I'm doing, so that we're rowing the boat in the same direction.
Really, it's just an alignment strategy.
That's what it is.
Well, and I want you to think about this, you can feel like I'm poking fun or all those things, but you think we're a co-op. So we're a co-op, and people in the audience, they're, customer owners and client owners and all of those kind of things. And there is some things where you wonder, in a firm like us, is it ran by the techs? Is it ran by the business people? Is it ran by crayon people? Is it ran by co-op people? But one thing everybody worries about is that, could we just become a business and not really have our passion for building products and services, but more importantly, keeping up with the tech? So it's not just a joke when we say, hey, are we promoting technical people? Okay, what influence do technical people have in our business planning, and how do we know what the value of our products are? So what the two of you are doing is very, very important. I think about Jody, and she was a fine business leader, and she started out as
very technical.
As deep in the weeds as you could possibly be. But she learned how to see a bigger picture, and she learned how to relate to how our tech helps the audience make money. And so there are people out there, as they think about our future, they worry, are you going to lean too far this way? Are you going to lean too far this way? So you guys are actually, it's a big deal. Now, from that standpoint, pricing is more important to you than ever before, but also is like, how do we keep the margins thin, and then what do we do with the money? But how do we get the money to invest back in technical projects?
I think it's important when you think of the cooperative spirit of credit unions as a whole, you think of the cooperation of the business side and the technical side. So we're simply just walking the talk related to the cooperative spirit of what we do.
And then putting on top of that the co-op side, the win-win for the customer and all of those kind of things. The idea, a techie person can make sure that valuable legacy is still valued and push into new things without throwing the baby out with the wash. And it takes a certain skill, all right? But I think the other side is it's important to realize AB is a different beast. Analytics Booth is a new copyright. Our CUSO was built around a copyright for core processing. But how do you guys see the future of Analytics Booth, either one of you?
Analytics Booth has been a great toolkit to expose a new way of looking at data. One of its primary goals was to expand the audience that was associated with data. So we invited credit unions to think about putting board members in Analytics Booth. We invited regulators, examiners, and those people who might be outside of the traditional credit union space. So that was a big goal for us with Analytics
And stop
Booth.
there, because that's one of the things that really got interrupted in 20. I mean, most of the day in these episodes, I've been talking about the things that have continued to chug along. You know, we're still on track. We're going to have our releases. We're going to do this, and this product is coming. But our audience initiative sure kind of got derailed here. And that's going to have to move to 2021, because you want to have an active board member audience.
That is correct.
You'd
And
like
an
to-
active regulator audience, an active examiner audience. Who are those people that we can talk to?
And it's not because we think we can earn money. It's because we really believe we can enhance what they're doing. Right. You know, I can't imagine, I'm on you right now to get going with almost a pen pal thing with board members. I wish board members were asking you as many questions as lending vice presidents about their loan portfolio. Sure. You know. So when does that get back on track?
We're looking for 2021 as starting that program. So we want to invite board members into our office. We want to invite examiners, and we want to enhance their experience. So to take off what you said a moment ago, if there was an ALM vendor out there that said they could do business, or they might be able to provide better insight to one of our credit unions because they can use Analytics Booth, we want to make that happen.
Analytics Booth is different in a different way, too. You're actually producing data that maybe is not in CU base now and doing some new things there. You have an operations team?
Just formed an operations team. This year we're on track to probably receive 1 million, closer to 2 million files come in from outside sources into our Analytics Booth warehouse. So with that in mind, we don't think you can just let that run off to the side and then blindly 6 months later you say, oh geez, we missed 300,000 files. That probably doesn't lend itself very well from gaining confidence out in the market.
So files would be tables. So that's 1 million tables you're updating.
Each year we'll import, yep. So we have a set of eyes. We're building an operations guidebook now that'll probably be close to 100 pages of checks that we do on a daily basis, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, quarterly, and annually. So these will be a guide that someone's going to say, hey, did this happen? Did this happen? Did this happen? So we're not surprised by anything.
Well, so every single night, our user base counts on us to do end of day, run all of our processes, do the accounting, make sure everything goes to the general ledger, and that's core processing, right? It's managing the teller line, everything else. But you're having an ops team that says, we're managing data in that same way.
That's right.
All right? And so that's a different kind of quality control and some things. You're working on your own SDLC.
That's right.
Right? And so we're touching about everything that could be touched.
The nice thing is we've been able to leverage some of the work that CU Answers has done over the years in building processes and systems and refine them, and then we get to see the benefits of that, so we're not starting from ground zero. So it's been kind of nice to have that with Dawn and her team and other teams, that we can use that as a starter kit, if you will, and then massage it to fit our needs.
And the department's got big enough, you can't stay under the radar anymore. You're going to have to get involved in SOX and all kinds of new audits and things, and people are coming to you and asking about that.
That's an initiative that we're trying to get in place so that we can pass a SOC SSAE 18 audit for 2021.
So you got a little bit of a reprieve there. On one hand, you're full out in the middle of everything. On the other hand, you had a little bit of a reprieve from your business development side.
Sure.
But I don't think you're going to stay under the radar. So AB, Analytics Booth, okay, big PHP project on the web, our first product that's available for board members in a hotel. Anywhere the Wi-Fi goes, you are there, all right? And trying to append to the vendor side. Now, we looked like a core provider when we first got into this, and you've been trying to update the look and feel of AB all along. You have a release in June.
We do. It's scheduled for June 28.
Tell me a little bit about the release.
Well, we've got a few components in there, as you just mentioned, where the look and feel, we call that a cosmetic change that we started as a 2020 initiative. So we have 3 major releases of the year. We did one in February, we'll have the one in June, and then we have one probably in October as the date. So on those 3 releases, each time we're going to see a little bit different visual change. We didn't want to bite off more than we could chew in one fell swoop and then not do any important things behind the scenes, new functionality or anything, efficiencies. So cosmetic change 1, 2, and 3 over the course of the year, that's part of it. We have a daily alert system. We send out almost 20,000 emails every month, 250,000 a year. And it might be too many because of the testing that we do on our alerts today. You could say if my membership changed by 1%, and you might get an email, but you're only concerned if it went down by 1%. Well, you just got an email every day possibly that you don't want. So we're putting in some more additional tests where you can change the direction of that, and then all of a sudden you're getting 1 email a week versus 1 every day.
It's kind of interesting because that's what AI is about. Machine learning is about really not doing the same thing in data dumps. You're saying, what do I know about Keegan? What do I know about Josh? What do I know about Randy? What does he really want?
Sure.
And I think, and the hardest thing about data is it's so easy just to bore people to death.
Mm-hmm. We've got one example where a credit union gets a 100-page email every day, 365 days a year, and I suspect they don't want that.
Well, I suspect they might
couldn't
talk about it,
They couldn't
but
even process it, right?
yeah, but did they read it, and how do those
Exactly.
things
So
happen?
in this release, back to your question, we're going to have the opportunity where you change the frequency, and you know what? Maybe I only want to see that once a month. So you get 12 of those a year versus 365.
Because the point of everything that we're trying to do is action. And so as you guys start thinking about it, it's really get people to love insight, but then kick them in the ass and get them to do something with it.
Sure.
And so that's a little bit harder. Well, A/B, I mean, you see someday that we'll be using it with third-party firms, getting data from third parties?
Hope so, very much. As a matter of fact, that's kind of interesting. And coming from the technical side, our project cycles, we might get a project on Monday, and we might have a solution by Friday that then we turn over to QC, or a long one might be a month long. We got it January 1, January 31st. On the business development cycle, completely different game. It's not a sprint like that. It's more of a marathon. So you could start an initiative, and we have with a couple different business partners, and you say, geez, it doesn't look like they're doing anything. So 6 months goes by, a year goes by, and it's very frustrating for me because you think nothing's happening. Then all of a sudden, year 2, they come back to you, and they say, now we're ready to make a move, where they have access to maybe 100 credit unions that they're selling products to. If we form that relationship, we now have access. If they take our product analytics booth, rebrand it under their umbrella, we now have opened up a 100 credit union solution possibly right there overnight. So instead of a very flat trajectory on subscription growth, because it's a subscription-based product, all of a sudden you can get very steep. But it does take time, and it appears nothing's happening, and that's a little frustrating.
Well, I like the
for me.
word marathon, maybe for a different reason than you. You've been running a marathon with this optics stuff. All right. How come it's taking so long?
You know, optics is one of those things that, and I want to take a step back from optics because optics is really non-transactional data. So you're going to hear a lot from us about non-transactional data analysis. Optics data in general, I would say, I don't know if it was necessarily the pandemic or not, the desire for that data has necessarily flown under the radar. We're not hearing too much about people who are saying, well, where is that optics data? Where can I get to non-transactional data? But we, CU Answers, Asterisk Intelligence, believe that there is an opportunity there for us to gain insight into what members are doing. And more importantly, we are creating data. We've long been looking at transaction data, and we use the transaction or the word transaction very loosely. When a member logs into online banking, we call that a transaction. That is a transaction that writes to the data table. If we think of the fact that a member went to the loan rate board, if we think that a credit union member called into the credit union's call center and they asked to transfer funds, that's a transaction. The employee went to the transfer fund screen. So we're going to start tracking that data a little bit more closely.
We're looking harder at what members are doing that's invisible to the credit union at any given time. So I went in, I looked at a rate board, and I left, and I didn't talk to anyone. I went in and I did all those things. Now, non-transactional data, you actually literally say, what's invisible and how do I make it visible?
How do you create it and then make it visible?
So, and we've been doing it. I mean, we've been doing it online banking. We have literally millions of records that we delete every month because we used them to look at them to see if our software is working. But there's so much more that the actual credit union could do with it if they actually said, oh, Randy Carnes came to our website or he came to online banking or mobile banking 5 times and did these non-transactional things, but 5 times in 1 week he did that. Or the very idea that people call.
And there's other industries that are in this game. If you think of grocery stores and the end caps, the products that they put on an end cap, they didn't just come up with that. They hired a team who said, what are the things that people might not be able to find that I can put on an end cap to make it easier for them to find?
So am I going to see optics this year?
I 100% believe so.
Yeah. Is the operations people going to be doing things? Because optics is a weird thing. We collect it in online web servers, and somehow we got to marry it up with the names and the tangible things that are in CU base, right? So what they have in common. Well, that's good. Anything other? Any regrets that you think? Has COVID did anything else to knock you guys off track?
I don't think so.
Other than the board engagement and vendor engagement?
We had a couple of engagements that were postponed, but outside of that, I would say full steam ahead.
How's the team responded to working remotely?
Great.
Both sides?
Great.
Excellent.
Yeah? Do they want to come back?
I was wondering about that. I thought after this pandemic finishes, whether there's going to be a movement of people saying, you know what, I thought I was pretty successful at home. I'm going to make a push to see if the company will let me stay there. I'm not getting any resistance or comments like that. I wouldn't say it's resistance. So we'll see how it plays out, but I'm not getting any pressure for anybody not wanting to come back.
It is interesting. Do you think that remote productivity is the same as in-office productivity?
Well, my gut answer is yes to that, but I think the timing, it's very easy to get distracted at home. You hear different noises when you're on your call now. There's either a baby crying, a dog barking, something along those lines, or the weather's nice and you want to go run an errand. Traditionally, you don't do that 8 to 5, but you may come back later and work from 7 to 9 p.m. Well, I might needed to talk to Keegan in the middle of the day, and that's the time I stepped out. So after you give a little more thought to it, I'd say it's probably not as productive, but to what degree, I'm not real sure.
One of the things that I really enjoy about being in the office is the spontaneity. The spontaneity of seeing Josh in the hallway, the spontaneity of seeing you in the hallway. You can't do that when we're all remote.
Well, even that question about who is unemployed.
Yeah.
We could have got around to it, but how long would it have taken us to get around to it? And I think data is very spontaneous and it's dreaming and it's asking for riddles. And if no one says the riddle, you never get around to the answer. I think it's going to be your 2 problems more in the future as business developers, and we're going to have to think about it. We're going to talk later more and more this year about certified professional remote workers. We're developing an actual certificate to say, are you a certified professional remote worker? And have you invested in the best remote working techniques? Have you invested in your home? Have you invested in all of those things?
Good internet speeds.
All of those things. You can't be a good remote worker if you don't live in a community that has internet quality. So I think this is going to change a lot. Now, what that means to me is I'm going to be looking to the data team to try to figure out more and more and more how to track productivity. And I think cranes are going to think about it. Last year when we put in the situation where we can watch the actual users of our software and figure out every feature they take all day long, okay? We've got to turn that into a new way of thinking about remote work. So I'm looking forward to the data team jumping in there, okay?
Absolutely.
Appreciate both of you joining me today.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks for having us.
All right, another sponsor moment. Take it away, sponsors.
In the beginning, we loved our credit unions because they were located near where we worked, where we worshiped, and where we lived. They fit the things that fit into our way of life. Today, mobile phones fit so well, we almost never set them down. And with the advent of feature-rich mobile apps, our mobile phones not only fit, they now define our expectations for ease and convenience. In the beginning, credit unions found CU Answers because we were a core processor. Will future credit unions find CU Answers because we're in the mobile app business? You better believe it. And in 2021, our Mobile Technologies Group will be blazing that trail.
welcome back. That's getting a little redundant. You know, we have a lot of commercials. Don't you like the sponsor? I think the commercials are excellent, but we changed some things out, and we really are kind of into a speed situation here. We're going to do a bunch of stuff. So Josh has left. Ed McMahon, or Don, is back. All right, Keegan, you didn't see Don do her
I
Ed
didn't
McMahon
see
stab
that part
this morning, and you're still here. So let's. I want to talk about ACH. Okay. You know, I look at ACH, and if you ask me what's going to change in the most in the next 2 years of all the things we do, I think it's ACH. Because ACH is moving from such a staid process. You know, it was like all back office, effective dating, and all of these things, and it was so big. Is like, don't post before you get the money, and I think about all the old school things about ACH. Now everybody's waiting for ACH to be instant. Okay, ACH not just to be posted by your core processor or by your back office at the credit union. Now it's going to be posted by vendors, and it's going to be posted by credit union employees throughout the day, whenever they want. And soon it's going to be posted by members 24/7.
Everybody wanted to break the rules.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're in this rule-breaking period with regard to ACH.
Right. And we also find out that data has no rules. I mean, it changes, you know, boom, you can't find a trend in there when you're doing...
Yeah, one of our biggest challenges was that we were set out with this goal to find, well, how many people get direct deposit? How many people get paid weekly, bi-weekly, or whatever frequency via ACH? And there's nothing that is in the Nacha formatted file that tells me this is Randy getting paid. It's CU Answers.
Yeah, that's all we talk about is ACH's payroll.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very interesting. That project. Now, I think your new dashboard that you have for that's very interesting as far as finding patterns.
Correct.
I think early next spring, we'll release this new tool, maybe sooner. I mean, I'm pushing for active beta. But it certainly shows patterns in there. And so credit unions have always defined direct deposit members however the hell they want.
Correct.
All right? But you're now going to be able to say it's more than... You know, simply saying, did they get $200 worth of ACH deposits in a month?
And I think credit unions need to look at it, take a step back, because when you think of how the gig economy had an impact on how people got paid, you may have gotten paid from Uber Eats, you may have gotten paid from Uber, Lyft. You got 3 or 4 people who are paying you. From the traditional, I get paid by the same company or originator every week or every other week.
So it's going to take some strong-willed people to say, I have an approach to data. I look for patterns in ACH, and then I make up my own ACH rules. This defines my direct depositor. This defines something else.
Correct.
And I think that's going to be an issue. Breaking the rules is certainly the thing. We've been in ACH a long time. Okay? Off the top of your head, think about how many types of ACH we have.
You know, I would say there's 10 to 12 approaches that credit unions and their members can be involved from an ACH perspective.
Okay. All right. Start with 5. Give me 5.
If we were to say there's 10 to 12, there's receiving ACH credits, receiving ACH debits, paying vendors in CU base via ACH.
We just changed that. It has a new, some kind of announcement.
ACH remittance, yep.
Oh, and it tells the vendor the credit union's paying why they sent them an ACH.
You got it. That was requested by a lot of credit unions. So that'll be coming out, and looking forward to seeing how credit unions move in that direction. Other ACH opportunities, so you think about generating A-to-A transactions or account-to-account transactions, so individual transactions from that realm, and then also the recurring, which is the A-to-AFTs. So if I'm an indirect member and I want to pay my loan on a recurring basis, I can tap into that A-to-A technology to grab those funds from a third party on whatever frequency that member of the credit union desires.
And to a certain degree, P2P is nothing but A-to-A.
100%.
Right? I mean, we have developing networks now that are saying P2P can be outside the Fed, but we just this year separated so you could have P2P vendors separate from bill pay vendors.
Correct.
Every rule's getting broken, and everything's getting all realigned. Now, you're part of BizLink.
That's correct.
And the BizLink board is really looking for an upgrade in ACH file origination for businesses and those kind of things. How's that project coming?
It's going very well. One of the things that the BizLink Advisory Board brought to the table is they have a community of business members who are saying, well, I got this ACH file, I really need to get it processed. So who is it that they process it through? So we're thinking about new strategies and new alliances where we can allow the business member to simply upload a Nacha file that they got from we don't really care where, so that it can be sent out for processing. It could be payroll, it could be employee reimbursements for expenses, it can be any one of those.
So ACH, I mean, it's going to change from batch to single transactions interactively throughout the day. And along the way, there's going to be a lot of angst. What happened during this COVID thing and all the ACH checks?
So there's a couple of things that happened. One of the things that was that credit unions got refocused on ACH. The fact that members were starting to receive ACH deposits, and we're in a time of where people need money for various reasons, to pay their mortgages, to pay groceries. Credit unions came to the forefront and said, how do I get this money in the members' hands as soon as possible? So if we talk about rule breaking, the stimulus payments got credit unions thinking about, how do I get this money into my members' hands so that they can make their payments? So it really brought a focus to that environment. In addition to that, because there was so much focus, the bad guys showed up too. So we had some bad guys who are still continuing to do some things in that environment, whether it be the stimulus payments to people who are under the age of 18, which is one that has come up recently, or maybe even those unemployment agencies. Obviously, throughout the country, consumers have flocked to unemployment. We all see the news, the unemployment claims, et cetera. It's a right place for the bad guys to show up.
So, and then it even affected online banking because people were waiting for the money, not like normal, they were waiting.
And by waiting, you mean logging in once every 5 minutes, every 10 minutes, you got it.
Right. So ACH is something for us to watch. And then in the business side too, we want it to be more sexy.
Yep.
All right. It's hard to be sexy because there's a lot of rules, and it's pretty interesting. So we would track an ACH, I think, through all of 21 and even into 22.
Well, even if you think about what the Fed is going to do, I mean, they're talking about FedNow as their real-time posting solution. 2024, 2025 is the years that they're advertising right now. So we got a long ways before we get there.
But real-time payments thinks it could be next year.
Yes.
And so a lot of different things we're working on.
So that's where you come to the table and say, are there vendor communities that will move faster than the Feds?
So you also lead Earnings Edge. And between AI and Earnings Edge, there's going to be a lot of things to watch.
A lot of fun things.
Super. Now you said something about breaking rules. Don, we're trying to break rules with the teller system.
Right. The teller initiative.
And you know, that's a long project.
It is. We have been talking about it for a while, and we knew that going in, but it always seems longer once you're in it.
Now there's three. We say soup to nuts, which is our primary.
Right. Existing and ongoing teller.
Right. T2, which is the break the rules.
Right. Calling it express teller.
All right. So tell me a little bit about that. Don't let me interrupt. Tell me something about it that I don't know.
That you don't know? I don't know if I can think of anything you don't already know. We've been talking about it. Last November was the last time we got together with people about it.
Well, I heard a rumor the other day that breaking rules isn't as easy as maybe you think.
You know, it sounds really good on paper to say, oh, well, we're going to take this out. We're not going to include this. And then it's like, yeah, you kind of need that if you want to do this. And it wasn't as easy to break rules. I think I look at it as reimagining how we could do tellering kind of from the ground up. If we could go back in time to 1970 and design it the way we wanted, what would we do? Given all of our experience, all these years we've been doing tellering, and from a mechanical standpoint, what pain points do we have? What always gets us in trouble? What do we have the most trouble making adjustments to? How do we make it more flexible? So when you invent some new thing and we say, yeah, we can put that in the teller system, now it's kind of like, oh, that's really painful to put that in the teller system. So I think it was more in reimagining how could we design a teller system from the ground up that would give us the flexibility to grow toward wherever it needs to grow. Because teller lines are changing, we know. Certain things are, people bring in money and they want money back, and that kind of thing is probably not going to change, but we wanted to make it a little bit better foundation for that sort of thing. So I'm not sure how many rules we're going to break. There will be things that people are used to that won't be there. We'll say that.
I want something to shock the shit.
Oh, sorry. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shock you. I don't know about shocking
All right, so
you.
I know you are planning to release some of those things early. What are the things that we're...
Right. The project, Express Teller project, is actually coming along really great. We've got the major components in QC right now, but there are actually 11 different projects spread across 4 different teams that make up this. This is a massive thing, including applications, of course. The MTG team is even involved because Publisher will be part of it. Imaging Solutions is part of it for the vertical receipts and also for the driver's license image. They're handling that part. And even the Gold team, I think we're going to be doing a lot more Gold type programming, processing than we've ever done before. So we're experimenting with a lot of cool things that Gold can do that the host program doesn't need to do. So that's 11 different projects that are all kind of being coordinated at the same time. But it's really coming along very well. And I actually have been using the software to post transactions and starting to go through QC. There are a couple pieces of it that lend themselves very well to early implementation. So the first one is the new search engine, which we hope to use pretty much everywhere. And so we're going to start by pulling the search engine from Express Teller and putting it into member inquiry, and that will happen this fall, so that we can get it in the field and see how the search works, how people like it, and what adjustments we want to make to it. And then so we can start putting that in things like phone operator and in transfers and wherever we want. Wherever we use global search now will be this new search engine, is kind of the idea. The other piece that we're going to put in earlier is the vertical receipts. And I was really excited. I saw my first actual receipt, a vertical receipt printed on thermal paper with a logo at the top, the whole 9 yards of signature. But it's one of those, basically as long as you want it to be. And it contains a lot of configurable options, which I think people will like. You can put account balances on it. We get that all the time. Can I just put account balances on my receipt? Can I put available balance on my receipt? All of those things will be configured. So you can produce those vertical receipts. Those will be able to be put into regular Teller before we even implement them with Express Teller.
Now, I had rejected vertical receipts for years,
Yeah.
and so it's not that we're going backwards because we really need them for Teller 3, T3.
Right, yeah, we had to do
and
it, yeah.
the kiosk tellers that need a vertical
That's
receipt.
the kind of thing they want. And we started working in that, but we had no plan for how are we going to deal with all the different kinds of data. An interactive teller machine might only do deposits and withdrawals, but we wanted to think about, all the other things you can do in a teller system. We need a way to lay those out on a receipt that they're legible and you can figure out what you're talking about. And receipts get produced by systems other than Teller. So when you do a transfer, there's direct mail, there's other places that do receipts. So we also needed to evaluate all of those as well. And some of those will not have receipts in the vertical format when it's all said and done. We even had one receipt that we used to produce a receipt, which was weird, for bulk transfers. So we just made that to a report. So it's not a receipt anymore because it didn't work well with vertical. So it was bigger. It was a bigger project than that. It actually will be even bigger as we talk about making it more of a native receipt and not using our existing solutions. But to start, it will be basically producing text in a different format than what we're used to.
And T3, all right, John's not here today, and one of the things, T3 is our teller line integrated to ITMs and automated teller machines and things like that. And we've made great progress on our interactions with third-party firms, et cetera, et cetera. But as you can imagine, COVID, now you have a teller, you have a credit union, and you have 2 vendors, and you're trying to put something together, and then all of us went remote. So I think
closed down altogether. Or
John didn't have a lot to say, but I think he will in June, November. I wonder how different our teller report is today than it would have been if we would have did our dog and pony with the PowerPoint and all of the things that we usually do. Or would it be about the same?
Right at this moment,
Yeah.
about the same. Because that project has been heads down coding for about 8 to 10 months, and we're just now starting to see it for QC. So I don't think we would have had anything really dazzling to show. That would have been November in any case. But by then, we'll actually have things to show. So
This isn't
that's
Randy
our promise.
Carnes.
That's a promise.
Yeah, this isn't Randy Carnes making a promise about what you're going to see in November. That's Don Moore telling you. This is a big scoop for my
It's really gonna happen.
for my talk show now. I have a scoop. Don Moore commits to a big dog and pony show for Teller in November.
Write that down.
Yeah, I will. All right. Anything else, you two? Just potpourri real quick. Anything else on your minds about development cycles and any really cool products that are out there? We're going to look at the release here in a second, but what's on the drawing board
We're
that's
getting
got you
close to
excited?
fraud block list. I'm pretty excited about
Oh,
that.
that's both of you, data
Yeah.
and fraud. Explain that fraud block list thing again. What is that? So
Well, it's a new database process, a new maintenance program where you'll be able to add names to lists. And we've got, I don't know, there's like half a dozen lists, where you basically say, I don't want this person to ever do X ever again. They've cheated me, or there's been some problem. I don't want them to enroll for P2P, for example. Or I don't want them to send wires or receive wires.
ATM deposits,
Whatever.
Yeah.
So the idea is, to simplify it, we basically give you a place to put a list. You put the name on the list, and then processes, posting programs or whatever, look at the list first before they let you do something. They say, your name in the list? Nope, sorry, can't
they
do
don't
that.
kick you out of the credit union.
No.
They just might not like.
Ease what, kind of limit what that person can
So this
do.
is what we're doing with AuditLink, and AuditLink and Asterisk Intelligence are teamed up on this abnormal activity. And instead of saying you're in or you're out, they tailor you to positive relationships and avoid ones that trip us up.
It's a scalpel to the member relationship, right? So we're taking out ATM deposits because I've seen challenges with this individual making deposits at an ATM.
And then the cool thing about Blocklist is eventually you could sell them to someone else's fraud software. So if a credit union bought a different fraud software and identified members, they can actually use that fraud software to know who to block as well.
Correct.
So it's a round big game. When you say Blocklist, got a date?
The first batch, I'm pretty sure, is in 2011
Yeah,
already.
all right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
good.
what I'm remembering. Yeah, that's why it occurred to me. The next thing I think that's already being coded, it isn't, it's just been in development, is the idea of watching transactions to see things that seem fishy. And as we learn from that, then we'll be able to say, when this 5 things happen, put that person on this block list. So there's kind of a evolution of
Yeah,
how
that's
things
what I
will
really
all
want to
talk to
see
each other.
from Asterisk Intelligence,
And
some
that's the
insight and mastery of the block list.
Yeah, if I see this many transactions, that kind of volume, and it's way higher than I've ever seen from this person before, something's fishy. I need to do something.
And it's not just volume, it's also speed.
Yeah, right.
If you have 5 ACH transactions in a matter of, say we're in a real-time environment, in a matter of moments, something just doesn't pass that sniff test, and you're going to have to make a change and do something different.
And that's going to be when we really start to see data technique really start to change core processing technique. That's cool. Well, thanks for coming. I think we could have did potpourri all day, but we'll get this going, and we'll go back to the sponsors, and we'll come back with the 27 release. All right, 20.07 release. Thanks, guys.
How did the vision of a horse and buggy transform into a Corvette? One generation saw the horse and buggy as a state-of-the-art mode of transportation, and another can't imagine needing to get from point A to point B in anything but a Corvette. Similarly, a decade ago, most people thought banking through the internet would only happen on a desktop or laptop computer. But today, the majority of people think mobile phone first, and a desktop or laptop computer would be a distant second and third. That's why the Mobile Technologies Group is leading CU Answers into the year of mobile first. In 2021, we'll bring a whole new version of online banking, developed through the lens of what a mobile phone or tablet would deliver. It starts with separating the navigation from the features, and it ends with credit union employees designing how to put them back together for their credit union's unique solutions. So start thinking mobile first as you design your internet retailing programs.
Well, welcome back, and welcome, Brian.
Hello.
How are you?
Good.
Yeah. For the audience sake, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Brian Maurer. I'm the Executive Vice President of Software Development at CU Answers.
And also an EC member, Executive Council.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yep.
So when you think about what you do here, explain that a little bit to me.
Yeah, so I oversee...
I mean, the title's easy to understand.
Sure. It's mostly overseeing the different programming departments and the products that we bring to market. So whether it's online banking or the core type of technology, we cover about 27 different languages within the department, so it's a pretty diverse group.
Yeah, like 80 programmers?
About 80 programmers, yep.
Where are they all now?
About 4 of them are in the office. The rest are remote.
80 out of your 84?
Yep.
Are remote.
Are remote, yep.
That's interesting. How do you think it's going?
Pretty well. I mean, I think, in the very beginning we struggled with a little bit of the productivity stuff and adjustments to working from home life, but I think now we've kind of found a pretty good groove. A little bit of time will tell since a lot of the major deliverables we have are already in the can, so we're kind of working to the next releases down the road.
We've had one release so far that was, during our remote era.
Yep.
Okay. And I made a big deal out of it. And I thought, this is great. It's our first remote release. How'd that go?
It went pretty poorly. We encountered some capacity performance concerns around one of the online banking projects that went in. It was in beta for months, but when it went in live to everybody, it struggled mightily.
Now, were you happy with because most of it was in the can before we even went to a remote. Yep. So the actual coding and those kind of things.
Yeah, that project went into beta in February. So it had been in and been used by one credit union for some period of time. The problem didn't seem to surface until we put about 25-30% of the load on it is when we started to see concerns.
When we think about how things like this happen, right? And it isn't really the coding, it's the network can go crazy on us. And sometimes it feels like the online banking and the mobile banking and those things have a lot more sensitivity to errors and error logging and all of those kind of things. Am I off base here?
No, I think you're correct. I think the biggest difference between the two is the unpredictability of the user activity. Mm-hmm. When we talk about our clients and the use of CU Base, it's a pretty predictable pattern that we can see. But when we made that release as an example, COVID has dramatically changed the way our online banking, mobile apps, and all that presence has worked. We're normally noon on a Friday was our busiest time. We're higher than that every day of the week, about 20 hours a day now.
Just because more people are home?
I think more people, the first big issues we had were stimulus checks. It's when people are looking for activity. Most of it is checking my balance and logging off. It's just more availability to do it, perhaps.
Mm-hmm. So you changed the way we released last time because it had a series. And the really only reason I'm bringing this up is since COVID, we've had, we had the stimulus checks, then we had the 2004 release where we had some capacity issues and some error issues. And now you get a phone call from me 24/7 if online banking or mobile banking doesn't respond to me. So I'm calling you, what the hell? Yep. But I know out there they could have the same kind of sensitivity. Oh, here we go again. We changed some things in the last release. What did we do?
So you talk about the 2007 release, moving it. So because the beta was supposed to start pretty much when...
Oh, no, come back to me.
Okay.
We changed the way we released online banking and mobile banking projects in groups a little bit differently to manage capacity.
Yeah, so we rolled it out by adding more and more clients. So essentially, where it had been in a beta with one client, we gradually added till about 50% of our clients were on it, and we could test their capacity before releasing it to everybody. And that was just because the best way to kind of simulate real-world traffic.
So when we talk about releases in general, it's just like we talked earlier with mobile. That whole release is different because the Cragen's more involved and we have to deploy differently. So releases are really changing.
They definitely are.
And you think you're going to continue this kind of rollout of internet channel releases based upon kind of capacity extensions or testing?
Yeah, so we have some meetings this week where we're trying to finalize what we're going to do around the 2007 release in the same space. Are we going to do it traditionally, or are we going to ramp it up and add more people? The beta started, so we're now talking about whether or not we add anyone to it between now and the general release.
And on top of all that, tell me what FinCity did to us.
So they're an aggregator that works with other aggregators, and what they did, what these aggregators...
Well, they didn't do it to us.
Right.
There's no animosity.
No. What members who use their service do is they log in, store their credentials, and then periodically that service will go and log in online banking, grab your account information, and pull it out. So they can put it into a different environment, whether you're aggregating multiple financial institutions or what. We were getting about 16,000 requests from them a day, which was around normal. They hit us with about 500,000 in a very short period of time, like in an hour. And that is a massive change to our online banking activity. So we were notified to it, identified it, and actually blocked them before it affected members. It was on its way to, but we kind of stopped it, basically blocked a series of ports that they connect to us from.
So not only are their members are competing with each other to see their stuff, but now even their third-party vendors are competing.
Correct.
Interestingly enough, I heard some rumor that they were actually doing some gathering of data for marketing programs.
Yeah, I mean, the short answer, we don't even really know what they're doing. The members have accepted the use agreements to store their credentials, and they can use that, from our perspective, however they want. Within their license agreement, I'm sure, but we don't really have control of how they do it, what data they're pulling. As long as they have those credentials, it's an authenticated member.
Business is changing. There's no doubt about it, and our management is changing. And then besides that, we're releasing more softwares from more departments and all those kind of things. All necessary. Mm-hmm. I don't think any of those strategies are going to change, but it makes release management a different game today. Okay, so let's talk about 2005, all right, which turned into 2007.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, so the beta was supposed to start the week that kind of, at least here, us in Michigan, kind of went into work or remote situation, and we kind of moved it to 2007 at that point.
And again, a lot of that was in the can. Because even in March, we're cutting things off, we're getting doc ready, we're doing some things. There's some nice things in the 2007 release, okay? Either one of you, got any favorites?
Online banking activity is going to be a big one. Online banking activity dashboard is responding to a lot of the questions the Asterisk intelligence team got when COVID happened. Because a lot of credit unions were saying, do we have an increased population that's using mobile? Do we have an increased population that's using mobile type things or even online banking in general?
So that's just a basic dashboard that's going to be in CU base.
You got it.
Okay.
And it's expanded upon many of the things that people have asked for.
Mm-hmm. Anything else?
I think for me, I'd probably say the one-click loans. This kind of category of projects that we'll be rolling out, this being the first one, onto online banking where members can be offered loans directly within the system, full fulfillment directly within there. I think this is a first step towards a lot of cool projects.
To date, a loan officer or a loan person had to hit a button that said, send them a promissory note.
Right.
Now the computer is saying, send them a promissory note.
Correct.
That's exciting. And it really is something that I think is going to be off the hook. Keegan, ANR. ANR always is like, we have a lot of configurations, so we can set up members to have a lot of different courtesy pay limits, and sometimes Canadians lose track of how the courtesy pay limit is going to be calculated.
And you can have different products that have different rules even.
So what's that ANR calculator all about?
So the ANR calculator is our response to credit union employees who have a desire to say, is Brian in the right spot? Is Brian, or if I look at Brian's profile, what is his limit, or what is the CU-based calculated limit? So this new tool will be a simple calculator. Type in Brian's account number, tell me where he should be.
Or tell me where he be tomorrow morning.
You got it?
All right, so I think there is. The release doc will be on the website. There's some nice things in here. As a matter of fact, I'm just starting to write some strategy comments on it right now. I'm looking forward to it. From what I see here, it says Online Creighton's going to have it on July 12th, about 12 days after we release this video. So we have 12 days of reprieve before I want you back on camera to tell me what went right. What went right? Yes, what went right. Okay, I'm excited about that. So then we move from 2007 to 2011. Okay. What's going to happen there? We're going to have usually we have like a 10-12 kind of thing or a 9-12 kind, because we want that tax release to be separate. Are they merging? How's that going to work this year?
Well, right now we don't 100% know what's going to be in the year-end release, but we're still planning on having a second one with that. They may get merged together, but not yet determined.
So we've did some unique things with releases over the time. We're one of the few data processors that I know that pay betas, so we try to pay them, okay? Then we move into release training, and last year we offered an enhanced release training. What was that program?
Strategic Release Management is the name of the service.
And we have a few Crayons still working that?
Yep.
And what happens in strategic release management?
Strategic Release Management is a personalized approach to train you on the new CU-based software. So it's a personalized session, but it takes it up a notch.
Us and a Crayon one-on-one.
Us and the credit
When you
union
say
one-on-one.
personalized,
Yep.
Okay, good.
So us and the credit union one-on-one, and then we want to take it up a notch and be the consultant. You should do these things because. And then we'll take it up even further and say, we will do these things for you because you've agreed to hire us as the mercenary to get the work done.
So you can read the release doc and then do what you want, or you can have us really walk you through the release guide, make suggestions about what we think you're ready for, and then even help you get that started.
You got it.
How was that received?
I'd say it was received fairly well. We have right around 5 to 6 credit unions that are working with us coming up for the next release.
Did we go to mass marketing on that program yet?
We did.
5 to 6, and you think it's going well?
So far.
5 to 6.
I would love
300 Crayons.
I would love more.
When are we going to get to at least 10%? We should have 30. You think it's going to happen, or you think COVID slowed it down?
I do think COVID did slow it down. I think credit unions are reprioritizing their efforts.
Okay. Now, we're getting ready to add a brand new thing. Post-release verification. Okay? Now, post-release verification, it's kind of like beta. Because when you do a release, you get with the beta team and you say, we need you to check this out, this out, this out, and you're testing it and you're doing kind of proxy work. And so what is post-release verification?
Post-release verification or validation, PRV for short, is really our efforts to say, after the release goes live, how can we re-verify the things that we looked at before, and even look at some of the things that Brian mentioned a moment ago, the capacity, now that we have much more people involved, how do we take a look at it from a grander scale? So we'll be looking at things from a data perspective. So the Asterix intelligence team and the knowledge that we've gained regarding data will allow us to jump into how has the data responded to some of the changes, and we're excited to see where it goes.
Now, but this starts early in the process because, as the production team starts thinking about this piece of software or this piece of software, we pretty much understand, somebody better really check this out. And we know we check it out in QC, we check it out in beta, we check it out in this, but then if we just change the way a fee is calculated, all right, then the credit union itself has a responsibility to say it calculated it properly, okay? But they have lives. Things happen, and the next thing you know, they don't check that the fee program that changed on April 7th didn't calculate fees right on April 30, and they didn't really figure it out until May 31. So you'll be flagging some things for this new team to work on?
Yeah, so part of the production team meetings now, we're going through these projects and looking at it. Those are the ones that are scheduled for a release. We also do release projects in between. We're also doing the same thing, kind of giving Keegan and team some notice on, here's the projects coming in, things that you may want to investigate more thoroughly, around data and fees and things of that nature.
So we do a lot of validation all the time, right now even. And I don't know that people always understand that. Like, we have statement validation teams that we bring in teams over the weekend to look at statements and actually validate them instead of each crayon have to validate. We wish they validate, but we do that and other things. So you're going to be leading up this new effort, Earnings Edge, and what do you anticipate?
I anticipate a evolution of how we tackle the project. So we met as a production team yesterday, and we started to go through a beta process of flagging which projects we thought would be great for PRV. There was a little bit of disagreement on some projects that might be PRV or might not be. So that evolution over time will be interesting to watch.
So we change how something calculates a fee, a dividend. qualifying for clubs or anything like A&R, but you got 200 credit unions. How many of you is your team going to validate?
I would say it's still yet to be determined, but we are going to be reaching out to a decent population of credit unions, and we're going to consistently ask them, hey, did you verify this? Did you verify this? Did you verify this? And we're going to be that person in the corner who's going to be constantly reminding you of the verification process that you
Pain
should
in
do.
the ass.
You got it.
All right. Well, our release is going to be perfect in 2021.
Never perfect, but we're striving to improve.
Well, you should be a marketer. Now, that other thing that you talked about, I mean, you coordinate these teams, but you do have a responsibility to just the overall design work and the way we get things done. All right? I'm still pushing you kind of hard for web service presentation over gold, and we're looking at that in a big way.
Yep.
And anything else you see in 21?
A big project on the online banking team and the mobile technology group is modules, and that
talked
effort
about it
that's
earlier
going
today.
on. That's a big effort going on, and we'll continue to kind of reap benefits as we get those in place and move on to the next step. I think those are some of the big, exciting things we have coming on right now.
Any worry about your 80 people coming back?
Nope. I mean, I have probably half of them that are very eager to come back already.
Yeah. Back to the future, we do have kind of even a beta. 30 days after the stay-at-home order is lifted, we're bringing in our volunteers to return to the office. We're going to do 30 days with our boldest in-office people to make sure we're doing social distancing, make sure that we're thinking and thoughtful of that, and let the second wave of people coming back have another 30 days to say, how is the testing going with the people that came back ahead, and watch the market, and then we'll call those people back. And then you feel that a few of those programmers are going to say, hey, you know what, I'd like to work remote more often.
I'm sure we'll have that, yep.
And you and I have an agreement that we're going to design something for remote workers, not just default to it.
Correct.
And it should be an interesting thing.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks for coming in.
Thank you for
thanks
having me.
joining me today. And that kind of wraps this segment up. And we'll get on to episode 3 here in a bit. Take care.